Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today for our webinar on the importance of having a great website. This is brought to you with support from a grant from Mass Development, and thanks to the Transportation Alliance and our member, Jeb Corey, who is doing our presentation today. This meeting is being recorded and will be hosted on the Ride Local Massachusetts website, which you can access at ridelocalma.com. And you'll find on that website as well a whole host of resources for fleet operators. So please take some time to check it out. With that, I would like to hand it over to Jeb for our presentation. Thanks so much, Jeb.
All right. Thanks, Amanda, for having me. As always, I just want to make sure you can hear me, correct? All right. And let's share the screen here. Make sure that's working well. Beginning. All right. I think we're ready to rock and roll here. So this webinar today is really just about kind of websites in general. And I'll go over several different types of websites that we have. So you can see them from the most basic kinds to some more advanced ones. And we'll talk about some of the positives and things you really need to have in today's modern times to have a pretty decent website. So my name is Jeb Corey. I've been in the transportation business for about 20 years now. We run a small fleet of 25 to 30 vehicles in Charleston, West Virginia. We use those vehicles for additional taxi, corporate accounts, crew transportation, non-emergency medical transportation, a little bit of ride share, and our company's always been pretty large focus on technology. So one thing I want to talk about really is just kind of a brief history of the internet so we can kind of really see how important it is to have a decent website these days. So the website, the World Wide Web, kind of went public in the early 90s, roughly 1991. 1995 comes along, and that's when things really start to get commercialized. You're starting to see the Amazons, the eBays, Craigslist gets on board. 98, Google launches. I remember when Google launched, it had a ridiculous name, Google. Everybody just thought that was so silly, and you know, it would be something that probably would not catch on. And clearly that was absolutely incorrect. It's now one of the world's largest, most valuable companies. 2004 is kind of when Facebook launches. A little bit before Facebook, you had MySpace, but this kind of started the revolution of what they called Web 2.0, which is really focused on social media. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the things that you see today. Facebook wasn't really the very first one of those, but it's really one of the most successful one of those. In 2009 is actually when Bitcoin launched. I know that's kind of strange to mention here. A lot of people think of Bitcoin as a digital currency, but what's really interesting about Bitcoin is it's really not so much a digital currency, but a blockchain network. And a blockchain network is really the beginning of the decentralization of the internet. And that's really kind of the next phase, I think, of the World Wide Web. And so we're talking, that was already 10, 11 years ago now, but we're starting to see other blockchains come about. And just as, Google and Amazon were kind of early off in 95 and 98, now they're huge successes. I think you're going to see a lot of success over cryptocurrencies and blockchain networks over the next decade or two. And then in 2016, you started getting a lot of those computer assistants that came around. Google Assistant, Amazon's Alexa are two of the bigger ones. And ironically, I don't know if a lot of people know this either, those kind of started off as training AI, artificial intelligence. So these companies, you would talk to your Google Assistant or your Amazon Alexa, and you were asking questions and getting answers back, and you thought as a service to you, but people, when they were asking these questions and getting answers, what they were really doing is training artificial networks or artificial intelligence, which is also going to be another huge thing over the next couple of decades. When we look at internet users back in 95, when the World Wide Web kind of really became public, and don't get me wrong, the internet's been around before then. I think the internet at its very earliest is kind of back in the late 70s, early 80s. You had a couple of universities around the country, around the world, that were kind of at the very beginning of it. But 95 is, it's when the early 90s to mid 90s is when really the rest of us started kind of getting online. I first really started getting 95, I think was the year I got online actually. And I used America Online. Everybody probably remembers the little dial-up modems. I still use an AOL email account on occasion. But back then you had 16 million users, which was still a pretty good amount. If you look at the year 2000, we're up to about 361 million users. Now we're in 05, you're at 1.1 billion, 2010, 1.9 billion. 2015, you're about 3.3 billion. Here in 2021, we're over 5 billion users. And I think all across the world, there's only about 7, maybe close to 8 billion humans on the planet. So a majority of the world's population is using the internet in one way or another. And then, if we look at Facebook, which was one of the more popular social media sites, 04, you had about 1 million, 2012, you had 1 billion, and 2021, you're at roughly 2.8 billion. So, you have a large basis of people who are on the internet are also using Facebook or other social media type of websites. There's a big emphasis on what modern websites need to have. So one really important thing is to kind of make sure that you have an SSL certificate. You'll notice that most websites have an HTTPS. Up until about a year or two ago, you would see that as part of the URL. So when you went to a web address, you'd put in like https://chtaxi.com, for example. Now you don't really see that HTTPS anymore, but you see like a little icon. It might be like a little lock. And if that lock is locked, you're good to go. If it's unlocked or red, you might have a problem. It means the website's not encrypted or secured. And really what that means is any information that passes through to that website is secure. If you have a basic website that's just providing information, it's not the most important thing from a keeping information safe standpoint. But if you are taking people's information, so if you're doing trip requests or contact forms, or especially if you're doing any type of payments, you're going to make sure that your website is secure. And also search engines such as Google, they rank, a lot of their rankings are based on if you have an HTTPS or a secure website. So they really want you to have a secure website. So they started kind of making that part of their algorithm. And when they list you on, when somebody does a search for something, if your site is secured, then you should rank a little bit higher than somebody who is not. Obviously, we live in a pretty mobile world these days. Everybody is using cell phones and tablets. Very few people actually use computers and laptops anymore. So your website really needs to be able to be mobile responsive, is what they call it. But it needs to adjust to whatever device it's on. So you've got all kinds of different sizes of cell phones and tablets. And when someone looks at your website from one of those devices, it needs to adjust the screen size, right? It needs to make sure it looks good. It needs to make sure any forms that you have on there adjust and they act well and things of that nature. So you really want to make sure that whatever website you have, it's pretty mobile responsive. SEO is a huge thing these days. This is another thing that search engine providers such as Google really utilize to rank your website kind of high. So you're going to want to use keywords and content throughout your website so search engines can find that data when people look for stuff. To me, overall, in all honesty, SEO is a huge mystery. The search engines kind of change their algorithm on how they look for this SEO or search engine optimization keywords. So it's always changing, and it can sometimes be very difficult to stay on top of that at the highest level. You're going to want definitely contact information on your website, right? So especially for transportation companies, you're going to want a phone number. Maybe an address isn't the most important thing. A lot of transportation companies, people generally aren't coming to your facility. You're usually going to them. But again, this is information that search engines really take a look at to make sure that your site is one, accurate, and two, more legitimate. So, having a physical address on there is going to help you with Google Maps. And if you're better off on Google Maps, you're going to be better off on a Google search. And so you're going to want your address on there, your physical address on there. You're going to want your phone number on there. It's great to have a contact form on there too. So your patrons can reach out to you. Basic stuff, name, phone number, and just maybe whatever little box to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm interested in. Contact information, again, can be very important there. Websites. So websites generally have some type of content management system. WordPress is a huge one these days. A lot of sites are built on WordPress or other systems like that. Weebly and Wix are some of the more commercialized ones that kind of make life a little bit easier for you. They can be great ways to kind of build easy websites. And then load speed too. You're going to make sure your website loads as quickly as possible. And again, this is going to be from a computer that's got a nice fast wired hard connection to cell phones that are in, you're using a cellular connection. They might not have the greatest load speeds in the world because of the data connection. So you're going to make sure that your website is formatted well enough so that it kind of loads as quickly as possible, really no matter what type of device you're trying to get to. So I have some suggestions too. When you're building a website, you always, in my opinion, you should always purchase the domain name separately. So sometimes if you go to a hosting service like Weebly or Wix or something like that, they'll say, okay, we're going to host your website for you. And then I tell you what, we'll go ahead and give you a domain name for free. And so they'll let you pick a domain name, but it's still kind of in their territory, right? They gave it to you, but it's really there. Sometimes they still kind of own it. And that can be a problem if you want to switch a host or a hosting provider. So I always recommend owning your own website. There's lots of different places they can go to purchase it. GoDaddy is one that I normally use. It's one of the larger ones. But I always suggest purchasing your website separately. And then there's also usually a little privacy functionality that can come with it. So when you buy a website, a lot of times it's going to be connected to, again, your name, address, and all that stuff. And then and that information is public. So sometimes people will go off and get that information and they can use that to spam you with other stuff. So even once you purchase your website or your URL, so instance chtaxi.com, you also generally want to purchase some type of privacy feature if it does not already come with it. And sometimes they already come with it. But when you purchase that privacy feature, a lot of times then when you try to look up who owns that website, it becomes more generic information and it's harder for people to use that information to spam you with, all kinds of stuff, such as your website's about to expire when it's really not, pay us this kind of money, things like that. You also may want to consider alternative domains. So, up until recently, .net, .org, .info were some of the bigger ones, especially .net and .info. .org is generally really utilized for nonprofit organizations. You'll see .gov, obviously that's usually only government organizations. But one thing that sneaky people will do is if you have a website, chtaxi.com, for instance, and you don't own the .net, .org, or .info, they'll buy that. So someone else could buy chtaxi.net or .info or whatever it may be, and then they can publicize that out there. And when someone thinks that they're trying to get to your brand, they may get to somebody's alternative brand because they've used your brand and a different URL at the end. Like I said, .net, .org, .info, kind of the more common ones, or some of the more cheaper ones as well. And then a lot of times these days, it's hard to find a .com. You have, between all the companies and brands who are now on the internet, they've already utilized all the real .coms from themselves. And then you have companies who've gone out and all they do is just buy what they think may be potential valuable .coms. So if you have a decent brand at all, or something that may be more common that may be used in another state or even another country, somebody may purchase that .com and actually just sit on it till you decide you want it, and then you have to buy it from them. So one of the things that we've started using is .io, and .io is actually a country code. I believe it actually stands for Indian Ocean, and is what it really is. But IO is also a computer technology term that stands for on-off or input-output. Or if you look at the very baseline of any computer language, it's ones and zeros. So a lot of companies that are sort of tech-centric have started using .io, and it's become relatively common for that type of environment. So .io can be very valuable as well. But once you own your domain, so you're going to buy your domain separately, and then you're going to want somebody to host your website. And we've got several different companies that we use to host our websites, and I'll go over a few of those. But then all you really do is you log into wherever you bought your domain, and there'll be a place where you can kind of just forward to the hosting site. So when someone plugs in www.chtaxi.com, it automatically goes to the hosting site. So you don't have to give control of your domain to a hosting site. You maintain ownership of it, and you maintain control of it. And then usually what I do also is then I can redirect your domain to work with something like Office 365. So if you use Microsoft's products, you can get a And I think for roughly $6 a month, they can handle all your email hosting, and then you get online access to things like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And then for a few bucks more, maybe $12 or $13 a month, you could download all that Office suite to your computer. But that's what I use for email. In my opinion, Microsoft does a really good job of email hosting. And then obviously you can get to it from great apps like Outlook or Outlook Mobile for your phone. It's always in the cloud. It's easy to get to. And again, you own the domain. Nobody else owns it. You can have it forwarded to somebody like Microsoft. But again, there's lots of different organizations out there. Those are just a couple that we use. So what I'm going to do now is kind of go over a few websites. And these are all websites that we own. C&H Taxi is one of our bigger, more complicated websites. That's what we've been using for our taxi company now for roughly 15, 16 years. We've had that domain, chtaxi.com. One thing that's also very kind of hard or confusing when you're trying to get a URL is the ampersand. So you see C&H Taxi is our technical company, but the computing world, especially websites and other technology platforms, don't really like that ampersand sign. And so you have to figure out, how do you want to handle that? Do you want to use and, or do you want to use some other interpretive for it? We just chose to take it out, and our website's just quick and easy, chtaxi.com. We also going to go over arriveoflink.com. This is basically focused on our mobile app. And then we've got a little link local that's almost really just a splash page website that we'll talk a little bit about. And that's for another little app that we have. And then over the last couple of years, we've started Link Automotive, which is our auto repair shop that's really focused on the public. And this is kind of more our newest, more modern website, and it can be pretty intelligent as well. So with CH Taxi, this is kind of the stats for that website. Again, we have chtaxi.com. One thing that's great about that, it's quick, it's easy. You're talking about 5 letters. It's easy for people to spell. It's easy for people to get to. The domain cost me about $20 per year on GoDaddy, 10 for the .com, another 10 for the privacy feature, so it's relatively cheap. If you buy multiple years at a time, which I think I did with that one because I knew we were going to have it for a while, you can get that price down a little bit from that also. The hosting service is pretty much self-managed. I used a hosting company called Host Papa. They were previously known as Lunar Pages. It cost me about $270 per year for the entire year to host the website. It's relatively quick, but again, it's self-managed. They don't really do anything with it. Any changes I want, I have to log in, make some changes, or I'll have the person who actually did the design of the website, they can kind of log in and do it for me also. It's designed by a company called Orange Graphics. They have some history with transportation companies, so they're very familiar with our industry. And when we did this website, I think this site is actually getting kind of old now. This site's probably about 4 or 5 years old, and we paid about $3,000 to get it done. But again, it's a pretty intelligent website, and it's got some integrations that really made it a little bit more expensive. It's very mobile responsive, so if you can get to it from our website or from a desktop computer, a tablet, or cell phone, it all flows pretty well. It's integrated into our dispatch system. We use IT Curves, but most dispatch systems now have a pretty good web form that you can use to integrate with them. And that allows you obviously to take website bookings. So you can say, hey, I've got this form now on our website. People can put in their phone number, their address, their name, everything they need. When they do that, it automatically goes into your dispatch system. So that can help alleviate some workforce there, or to help lighten the load on your workforce if people are using your website to book some type of transportation. We have a texting system. The company that we use for that is Simple Texting. So we've got a little text form that is integrated into this. We have an email newsletter. We use MailChimp for that. So we've got a little form on here that will integrate with it. And then we use Zendesk as our customer service module. So we've got a place here that Zendesk kind of hosts, but it's built into our website. And so if somebody has a problem or a complaint, they can come to our website and utilize it to communicate with us. And then obviously we have our social media links you can get to. And then I'm going to show you some web stats and what happens when you Google taxi Charleston, West Virginia. So I'm going to take a look at the website right here. This is our website for chtaxi.com. You're going to notice this pop-up page, right? So ourselves and many other operators I've talked to across the country have had this issue where it's tough to get drivers right now, and business has increased. So you have a supply of business, or a demand of business, and a lack of supply of drivers. So one of the things we did was put a little splash screen up here that says, hey, welcome to CNH Taxi. We apologize for long wait times. All available taxis are currently in high demand. Thank you for your patience. And then also what we thought is this might be a good way to recruit drivers, right? So we've got a little thing here that says, hey, we need more drivers to handle high volume. Please contact us today. And you can call us at our phone number here, or you can click immediately on our job page and it'll take you to our application, and I'll show you that in just a second. So this is a good way to kind of help, say, hey, yes, we are in high demand right now. You may have some long wait times, and then also we definitely need drivers. But if you look at our website here, this is the homepage of it. One of the things that we really focus on is our mobile app and our website reservation page. So we introduce people to the Link app. You can download it here. You can go to the Apple Store or to the Google Play Store. You got the website reservations, mobile booking right here in the center, and then call us here on the side. So right when you come here, we're giving you multiple ways to get a ride, and we're trying to automate that as much as possible, app or website. If you scroll down a little bit, it says, welcome to CNH Taxi. Again, we're pushing the app again. We're showing you screenshots of the app. We're introducing it with Captain Cab over here. He's a good friend of mine. He likes to do some marketing for us and promote it. We like to think he's really helped us into the 21st century, so we use him a lot on the website. We talk about our vehicles too. So one of the cars that we did several years ago was the Eco Ride, the CNH Taxi Eco Ride, which was a Prius. We're trying to promote that we're doing good for the environment, and so we're showing off a little bit of that stuff also. And then we make it easy for you again to sign up on SMS. So when you click on this, you'll get a little drop-down box. You put in your phone number, first name, last name, agree to terms, subscribe now, and now you're on our text blast system, which can be used for lots of things, just informing the general public of things. Or you can do some marketing through that as well. Same thing with the email sign up. It drops down, you put in your email address, you're now on our email list. If you need to report a problem, you can use that. And then we have a frequently asked questions section too over here that you can utilize to get more information about our company. And then we have all these little things here at the top of little headers on how to all kinds of stuff about us. If you click that, it's going to load, and it's going to kind of show you a little section here, about us, how long we've been around, some of the things that we do in the community. So you always want to talk a little bit about yourself. Also, these pages are a great way to include, more keywords, CNH Taxi, things like that, things that like SEO that Google's going to look for. So the more pages you have on your site that have some keywords, the more likely it's going to help you show up high on the Google list. We talk about our services, our rates. So those will come up here, and we talk about our on-demand taxi service, our wheelchair accessible vehicle service. We talk about time calls, package delivery, corporate accounts. Again, these are great places to talk about your individual services, and it's great places again to have keywords to help you rank higher with that SEO on search engines. We have a little section that we put on there called community. So we are a small family business in our community. So we wanted a place in there that talks about all our different things that we do. Untoxic Taxi is a program that we've done for about 15 plus years now, where we provide free rides on major holidays like New Year's Eve, Halloween, St. Patrick's Day. And so we've got a little blurb on that. The Pink Ride program is actually a program that the TTA did several years ago. So we want to talk a little bit about that. We painted our entire vehicle pink, and in the month of October, we donated $1 for every trip that we did to the American Cancer Society. So, again, something we've been doing for the community. We really wanted people to know about that. Get a cab, so obviously if you're coming to our website, you're looking for a ride, you can come here, click on the mobile booking app. Again, we'll talk a little bit about that and really push, downloading it for your mobile phone, whether it's iOS or Android. We have our website reservation page. I was talking a little bit about that earlier. So this pops up. Again, it's pretty easy and simple. You just put in your information, where you want to be picked up, where you want to be dropped off, payment type, number of passengers, and then it goes right into our dispatch system. So that can be very helpful. We do have a career section here, and this is actually integrated into a platform that we use called Applicant Pool. And so it looks like our website here, but if you look at the URL up here in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see that it really goes to chtaxi.applicantpool.com. But applicant pool is something that we use to put up ads, and it'll put up ads on social media sites, the job boards, and then it also automatically posts it here on our website. So it's a little portal I go to. I just load the ad. It automatically then loads it to our career page here on our website. And so, we need a dispatcher or drivers needed. It gives easy access for anybody who's looking to do that. They can just come here, click on these things. It'll tell you, a little bit about the job. And then you can just apply by putting in your name and information right here, and then you can apply for the position. So it's a great way, again, of trying to recruit staff for your company. It's on your website. It's easy to get to, and it works out pretty well. We offer taxi top advertising, so we've got a little section, obviously, to promote that. And we have some pictures of different examples that we've done over the years. So this is a great way, basically a free sales tool to help us sell the taxi top advertising. Also, again, it's a great place to put in taxi and things like that. So you end up high on social media, or not social media, but search engine lists. But here is all our social media icons. You can come up here, and then you can go to our Instagram, Facebook page, or anything like that. And then our contact here's our little contact form. You can go to it, and then you can have your name, email, phone number, anything like that, or a message. One thing you always want to try to do on these forms is have some type of security feature, so people don't come to the form and put in information. It's almost impossible to stop that completely. I've never figured out a way to stop it completely, but here's an example, something called the reCAPTCHA, and everybody's probably seen these things where you say, "I'm not a robot," you click on it. Also, interesting enough, those things sometimes where it pops up and it's like, choose all the images that have a chimney or a traffic light or things like that. Again, that's one of those things where you're not only choosing or trying to prove that you're human, but you're actually training artificial intelligence when you do those things. So I always find that stuff extremely interesting. Also on the contact site, we have report a problem. So this is a place you can kind of come, you can see our frequently asked questions or service problems, and then you can submit a request up here, and someone can fill out this form. If they had a problem with the trip or something that's going on, they can fill out this information. When they hit submit, it comes directly to us, and we can see exactly what's going on there. I'm going to show you this real quick. So if you go to Google and you put in taxi Charleston, West Virginia, you can see that we pretty much dominate the very first page of Google. Our website's really the #1 thing that comes up, then our rates page, then our mobile booking app stuff. Here's another thing for our website. If you scroll all the way down, we pretty much dominate the entire first page. Here are pictures from our website right here. If you look up here in this corner, you'll see our reviews. We have over 501 Google reviews with a 4-star rating. You can get to our website. We rank extremely high on Google, and that's really for two reasons. One, we've been around, our website has been around for a really long time. Like I said, going back 15 plus years, we've had a website. And in these days, that type of longevity really helps you rank high on SEO. And then all the stuff that we do on our website, we've got all kinds of keywords. We've got the multiple pages. With the reviews, we answer reviews. So if you've left a negative review, we try to answer it. Even with the positive review, we try to thank you for it. So we interact with the things that Google wants us to interact with. And so that helps us rank very high. Let's see here real quickly. I'll show you some stats. So with the CNH Taxi website, you can, Host Papa offers just a basic statistics thing. So it allows me to kind of go in and see some of the statistics. So here's kind of, where we are through 2021. You can see the unique visitors, number of visits, pages viewed, hits, and bandwidth, and things like that. So, July, it's a pretty good month of July. We've had 2,336 unique visitors, over 3,000 visits, 44,969 hits to the website. So this website actually performs extremely well. Okay, so let's go on to the next one here. Okay, this is a good example of more of a splash page website. This is really not quite as fully entailed as the CNH Taxi website, but we have Ride with Link, and ridewithlink.com. Now you're going to see this HTTPS. This site actually is not HTTPS, it's HTTP, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a second. Again, it's a domain I purchased on GoDaddy, cost me about $20 a year. This hosting service is partially managed, so I can access to it, but Studio Mesh is the company that hosts it. They're also the company that designed it. Sometimes if I want something done to that website, I can reach out to them and they'll take care of it for me. It runs about $660 a year to host this website. So you can see that's a little bit more expensive than the CNH Taxi website. It's mobile responsive to the fact that when you pop in, and I'll show you this too, when you go to the website, if you're on a desktop computer and you type in a phone number, you will then get a text message to your phone that says, hey, please please download our app. But if you get to our site from a Apple phone, for instance, basically it's just going to show you the Apple badge. It doesn't give you an option for Android or to type in your number. If you get to it from an Android phone, it just shows you the Android badge. So it tries to make it as easy as possible to get you to download the app. And we integrate with a company called Twilio or Twilio to do that. And then we have our social media links as well. Yes, go. No, do that. Okay, so we'll see if we can pull it up here real quick. All right, so this is the ridewithlink.com website. Again, it's more of a splash page, but you'll see in the upper left-hand corner, this one is not secured. So I've not purchased an SSL certificate for it. It's not included in our hosting with this one. It's not that much. I could probably get one for $50 or probably $50 a year is what it would cost. But that's what happens when you don't have an SSL certificate. Again, it's not too much of a huge deal here because we're really just displaying information. We talk about our link app. The only thing we really take is your phone number, and you do that. Like I said, it'll text you a link to download our app. And then we talk about why use us versus maybe Uber, Lyft, or something like that. Relatively modern website, updated. It's very bright, it's very graphical, but this is really about it. It's almost really just a one-page website. You scroll down to it. We've got a little contact form for you. If you want to, give us information, or if you're interested in becoming a partner or a driver with us, we've got forms down here for that. Also, our social media forms are off here to the side, and then the basic stuff here at the bottom. Now, we do have a pretty extensive terms of use for this app, so we did want to put that on our website. If you ever want to take a look at it, feel free to check it out if you want. But this talks about all the terms of use of using our mobile application. And again, this is for legal reasons. We're trying to make this available to try to protect us from a legal liability standpoint. That was right. Link. So Link Local, I'll show you this. This is a neat little app that we have that we use to promote other small businesses in Charleston. So if you come to this website, and again, this is a really basic splash page. There's not much on it. We tell you a little bit about Link Local. This blurred picture in the background is a street in downtown Charleston, and it's hard to see it, but back here, right underneath the logo, this blurred image is actually one of our taxi cabs parked off to the side, which is why I chose this image, because I thought that was kind of cool to connect the two together a little bit. And then we just talk about the app a little bit, so you can discover what's going on. So if you download our app, we have events, there's little coupons, there's a QR scanner, there's promotions. We talk about news that's going on in the city of Charleston. Again, we make it very easy for you to download the app and a contact form so that you can send information. And again, this is very basic. It's very easy website to launch something like this, not so expensive. I'll show you here. Yeah, I purchased the URL for this at GoDaddy, $20 a year. The hosting service, there's really no management with it. Again, it's just a basic one-page website. Make it app, made it happen. I don't really pay anything per year to maintain it. It is mobile responsive. It does integrate with the app stores, and obviously we have our social media links on it. But this is a good example of just a really quick, easy one-page website. But we do try to keep everything in with our other Link brands. So when you go to all of our Link websites, we try to keep the same branding with it. You'll see a lot of the same colors or a lot of the same formats. So Link Automotive. So this is actually a much bigger project. This was a website that we launched again for our company that focuses on repairing cars for the general public. It was already something we were doing it for ourselves. We already had the mechanics in place. We already had the equipment in place. We just needed to really let people know about it. So this website is very extensive. I do put lots of money into it because this is one of our main ways of promoting our garage. So it's the linkauto.io, and I've talked a little bit about this. You'll notice that most of our link websites, other than ridewithlink.com, but linkauto is a .io, linklocal is a .io. That's us trying to use more of this .io, or to say we're also a little bit tech savvy. Domain, again, I purchased it through GoDaddy, roughly $20 a year. The hosting service of this site is full management. And when I say full management, they're making adjustments all the time without me paying attention to anything. They're in the background. They're seeing what's going on with SEO algorithms. They're changing it. So as Google says, we like this for SEO, or we don't like this for SEO, that they see how that algorithm changes, and they modify my website in the background so that we always are trying to stay on top. The company that handles that is AutoShop Solutions. Again, we found a company that was focused on this industry. They do websites for all kinds of auto shops. They're very keen to that industry. They do a pretty good job. And you'll notice the cost of that, it's rarely expensive, right? 8,400 a year is by far our most expensive website as far as hosting it. The other ones, you know, we had 660 for Ride with Link. The Link local app was really basically nothing, and CNH Taxi was 270 bucks. This one I'm spending a great deal of money on because we're also building in a lot of other marketing services. So they do some social media posts for us. I've talked already a little bit about that ongoing SEO, and they do some blog posts. Now we also do some blog posts, and we'll submit them to them, and they'll put it up on the website. And blog posts is another way to really help start gaining some of that SEO that we were talking about earlier. So you're having a place on your website that is constantly being updated. So you do a blog maybe once or twice a month. You're adding additional information. It gives you another opportunity to put in some keywords. So it can become very important when you're trying to climb those SEO lists. AutoShop Solutions not only hosts it, but they also design the website. When this website was designed, I believe it was roughly $2,000 for the design. They make a lot of, obviously more of their money on the full service hosting in the background. So the website wasn't too awfully expensive. It's extremely mobile responsive. It integrates with our shop management system, which is Techmetrics, our customer management system, which is Mechanic Advisor, our email system, which is MailChimp, and then we have a rewards program that we just launched, which Pit Crew Marketing operates for us. So when you come to our place and get work done to your car, you also get rewards points that you can use on future visits. Obviously, like everything else, we link to our social media links, and then we've got a pretty in-depth web stats service with this, which I'll show you here in a second, and then our blogs, which we've talked about a little bit already. So when you go to this website, again, look, it follows along with all of our link branding. We use that link logo up here. We have a little modifier off to the side to say, hey, this is Link Auto. The first thing that you see pop up here is subscribe to our newsletter, get 10% coupon for our visit. So we're now attaining people's information. So you come here, we get their first name, last name, email. Now they subscribe to our newsletter, they automatically get an email for 10% off. So now we've got your contact information, which we can use for marketing purposes. And then you get a coupon. So when you come into the shop, you can utilize it to get a discount, obviously, on any work that you want done. But again, really modern website. One of the things that the Link brand utilizes is its own font. So you'll see our font on all of our link pages is right here. It looks, it's a very kind, very friendly font. We try to keep all of our buttons as much as possible on our websites round. So you'll see that it has rounded edges. When you hover over them, it goes from one of our colors to our other color. We focus on rideshare drivers too, right? Because as we all know, none of them really understand what kind of damage they're doing to their vehicles. So we've got a section on here to get those people into our shop. Also, once we get them into our shop, obviously we try to get them onto our taxi network as well. So it's a really double recruiting role here for both the auto shop business and our transportation business. And then we've got a lot of little pages that automatically branch off here underneath services. So oil changes, tire repair, brake repair, fleet service, auto maintenance, and tune-up. These are all specifically designed to improve SEO, and they're all pretty much their own little splash page that we connect to keywords. So when someone Googles oil change, we try to rank as high as we possibly can there. Same thing with the tire repair and these other things. We cross promote our other platforms. So when you come down here, we talk about the link ecosystem a little bit. We talk about our mobile app that you can use to get a ride, and Link Local, which helps promote other small businesses in the area. And then clearly show you how where we are on here. We include our phone number. If phone number is clickable. We've got our contact information down here. You can subscribe to our newsletter, social media sites, all the normal stuff. Something that may be a little bit different here is our schedule. So again, just kind of like when you book a ride on our CNH Taxi website, this one, if you need to book a repair, you just pop it in here and it automatically goes into the software program that we use to manage our shop. So great integration. A lot of people just want to go to a website, right? They just want to go to the website. If they can call you, if they can go ahead and do it right there on the website. The easier you make it for somebody to get any of your products or services, and you can do that on a website that's very mobile accessible, the more information and contact you're going to get from your passengers. Again, contact here, this just get in touch, Link Automotive. Here's our address, here's our phone number. And at the bottom of every single page we have this section for services, map, and this down here. And this helps increase that SEO as much as possible. Now with this, with that website here, we've got this is probably our most advanced dashboard that we can utilize. So you'll see here, and we'll just do, let's see, we're gonna do, we'll do the last 30 days. So I can change the date range on anything I want. This will show me the last 30 days, what kind of traffic you're getting. Is it organic? Is it direct from a link? Is it paid for through pay-per-click? We can see the Google My Business views, every day that I can hover over it, and I can see on this day, July 23rd, we had 181 views on this website. It helps us keep track of our visits, 229 visits, it's up 377%. I can see how long people are on our page. Just 2 minutes and 4 seconds is actually really good. I know it's down a little bit, but somebody who's on your website for longer than 30 seconds, they're actually reading stuff. And most websites, again, you don't necessarily need them to read entailed stuff. You just want to have a quick phone number or something like that. This means people are paying attention to our website. I can see the number of clicks they got from Google My Business, if they clicked on directions, how many times they called us, what our SEO increase is. So you can see we're actually doing really good on increasing over the last 30 days. We're up 266% on Google, the local section, and then up 112% on the mobile section. And this gets all broken down. You can come and see what our Google ads are doing too. So we use pay-per-click for the auto shop. Again, we're putting more money and time and energy into this because it's a new service. CNH Taxi has been around for 40 years. It doesn't necessarily require quite as much marketing as a company that's only been around for a year or two. But we can see what our average cost per click is, the number of clicks, what our cost is over the last 30 days, or click-through rate. And these are all great stats to go through and kind of look and see how your website is performing. And again, this is with obviously the more expensive website. So this is one of the benefits you get of that. It's a nice, pretty dashboard that gives you all kinds of data. And this data is useless unless you either go over it yourself or have an employee that can kind of keep an eye on it. With that expensive hosting, we do have a monthly meeting with Auto Shop Solutions, and we go over this data with them, and it's extremely helpful. So you've seen a little bit of all our different websites. You've seen everything from a very basic website to a much more advanced website. We've talked about the importance of the internet, all the different features you want to have on your website so that you can get attention. And now we've come to a little section of what we can do for you. So one of the cool things about the MA grant with the TTA is that you can utilize us to get up to 6 hours of assistance on your website. And this could just be reviewing your website and making some suggestions. We can help you start a website. If you have no website at all, we'll help you get it up and going. Or if you have a basic website and you just kind of want to update it a little bit, we can help put together a basic website for you. We can't do anything super advanced. So something like the Link Automotive website that has all kinds of integrations and huge dashboards, that you're not going to get. Now we can guide you in that direction. We can help you get a domain. We can help you set up that domain. We can help you find a hosting service. We can help somebody do a huge website for you. But with 6 hours, we can definitely lead you in the right direction, give some good positive advice, And then, and we could do a very basic website to you. So one of those one-page splash page websites, that's something we could probably get done for you in 6 hours. So we think that's a huge benefit. Anybody out there should definitely take advantage of that. So with that, I say thanks for attending, and feel free to ask any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeb. That was super insightful. I learned a lot, and I like to think I know a lot about websites. So
I would think
I
you would
learned
know a lot too, actually.
there's still things I'm always learning every day. So that's awesome. Thank you. If I don't know if anyone has any questions you want to start with. But if not, I have some questions that have come in throughout the presentation.
Okay.
I'm wondering if, actually, first I'm going to give a quick plug for any company in Massachusetts as well. We will customize the Ride Local Massachusetts decal for you, which is something you can easily put as a graphic up on your website to show you're part of the network and to further that. So if you're interested in having the Ride Local decal customized for your company, you could reach out to us through the ridelocalma.com website. So please get in touch about that. We have a question here. I'm hoping you can talk a little bit about the importance of like accessibility and maybe some like alt text on websites and how that helps with SEO and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that. That's actually one piece that we've been discussing here over the last couple of weeks that I forgot to put in slides. That's a great question. Accessibility is becoming huge with websites. And again, Google wants to see a lot of that stuff. So they're going to start ranking websites higher based on accessibility features. Auto Shop Solutions, actually, I'll tell you what, I'll even show you real quick here. I think we got a little bit of time. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And let's escape out of that. Maybe, okay, good. Shop. Let's see here. All right, so if you look on this website right here, in the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see this little accessibility guide. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of this. And this is becoming the standard when it comes to accessibility. There are some little things you can do now that really just change the font of your website or something like that. But when you click on this little guy right here, it comes up with all kinds of different things for accessibility adjustments. So you can reset, settings. So if you change any of these things, you can reset the settings. If you want to have a statement about accessibility, you can. But if you need a seizure safe profile, you can implement this. For a visually impaired profile, you can turn that on, and you can see it'll slightly change that website in the background. So as I click on some of these, you can see that it'll make some minor adjustments to what's happening with the website. And you can see really as I scroll down this is pretty entailed. There are tons of things you can do with changing the font or the size of the text or aligning things of that nature. So there's some really cool things when it comes to accessibility these days that that you can really do. I know that, whereas my understanding, the state of California, per usual, is always requiring something kind of strange. And I think if you have a website now in the state of California, it has to be highly accessible, and it has to be something to the effect of what I just showed. It can't just be some minor font or color changes. It has to be pretty entailed. So I think we're going to start seeing that as we move forward, more and more of those types of things. And hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to implement once a state makes it standard and everybody kind of gets the feel for it. It then becomes easier to implement somewhere else. I would think it'd be relatively difficult to do that yourself. So again, it helps to have, like in our case, Auto Shop Solutions for that website, the Link Automotive website. I just call them up and they make it happen. But it costs me money. You saw what that costs per year, $8,600 some dollars. But it is very helpful when we want to implement some new feature like that. It's very easy to make that happen. Great question.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jeb. That's great. I have read a ton of articles lately about the importance of accessibility, especially for Google SEO rankings. So I'm not surprised to hear that it's going to keep going up. So you talked a little bit about Google AdWords, and I know your company, because you guys have been around for a while, don't have to spend as much for the Google AdWords, but can you kind of talk a little bit about what it is generally, and how, like, why it's important? And then, perhaps like if a company wanted to get started, what would be a good budget to start with for a company?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to revert back to our our link automotive website, because again, that's the one we're really pushing a lot, and that's where we're focusing on marketing. And so with Google AdWords, everybody's probably seen this. You go to Google and you are searching for something, and what pops up at the top are ads that people are willing to pay for. And so if you want to kind of be at the top of these things non-organically, or having a paid position up there, you have to pay for Google AdWords. And we do a budget of roughly 300-ish a month. It can be 300 to 500, or 300 to about 350 a month on Google AdWords. And I think that's a good place to start, to really just kind of, it seems to be working very well for us. Just for the fun of it, one month we did $1,500 just to see what would happen. And I tell you what, it did great as far as driving traffic to the website. Our traffic went through the roof. But when we compared it to sales, right? How did we actually get that many more people into our auto shop, and did they actually spend more money with us? It was not much greater than the $300. So it was just a 1 month test. We may do another random 1 month test here or there, but it's always good to look at the return investment on any type of marketing you're doing, right? I think a lot of people go out there and they'll spend a ton of money on Google AdWords or banner ads or whatever it may be, but unless you have a good way of trying to track it back to increase sales, it can be difficult to see whether it's really worth it or not. But Google AdWords has been great for auto shop. Again, $300 is about what we spend per month there, and we have found that to be a very effective amount. This can also depend on the area you're in too. And what happens with this is Google makes everything very competitive with an algorithm. So whoever's willing to pay more for that spot also will get a higher, will get the spot over you. So what happens in large metropolitan areas, your cost per click, like ours on the auto shop, is somewhere around $3 to $4 per click, which is pretty good. Some auto shops or other services can sometimes be $10 to $15 per click, which is very expensive. So if you're looking in Los Angeles or San Francisco or probably DC and those areas, or Boston, Boston's probably a pretty huge major metropolitan area. So you'll probably end up paying a little bit more on a cost per click on a program in Boston for your local area versus a rural city and state like Charleston, West Virginia.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeb.
Yep.
I'm conscious of time, so I think we probably have time for one question. So this kind of ties into what you were just talking about at the end of your presentation about blogs and content ideas. So if someone wants to just get started with launching a blog on their website, or creating some of this content, do you mind sharing some ideas for what are some easy blog ideas?
Yeah.
Where do you generate new ideas?
So blog ideas are very difficult to come up with. In the beginning, it may not be so bad because it's easy to kind of reach out for those things. But for transportation, for example, you might want to you could just do a blog, an introductory blog, right? This is our company. This is how long we've been in, almost like an about page on your website. That might be your first blog. This is us. This is what we do. This is how you get a hold of us. But then you can also include other things in there, right? So the transportation industry over the last 20, or probably forever, but I've been involved the last 20 years, is always very interesting, always very fascinating. One thing about our industry is it's always something new every day. There's new challenges, there's new stories, there's new ideas, there's new things. So really, if you take your real life experiences and just turn those into blogs, that's the easiest, best way to create blogs on things. So if you have a problem, servicing a certain community, or working with you have a passenger complaint and you have a solution for it, or you want to talk about airport transportation or accepting credit cards or your new mobile app, just take all the cool new things that you do at your company or things that you do in general and just write a quick little blog. And blogs are blogs, right? They don't need to be 3-page, stories or articles or anything like that. They're, you could just have a couple hundred words that says, hey, check this out, this is what we're doing, or this is what's going on here. And again, use those blogs as opportunities to have keywords. So use the name of your company in there, or the type of transportation you're doing, NEMT or limo or taxi or airport, whatever it may be. Use that opportunity to always talk about those things, or do a call to action too. So at the end of the blog, if it's about airport service, have a little thing here that says, click this button to schedule your next ride to the airport, something like that. And then you build more value out of something you're already doing. We're huge on that. We always try to build as much value as we possibly can out of everything that we do.
Awesome. Jeb, this has been super insightful. Really appreciate you taking the time to go over all these. For folks in Massachusetts, so Massachusetts taxi and limo operators who are interested in taking advantage of getting 6 free hours of up to 6 free hours of technical support for your website, you can reach out to us directly through the Ride Local Massachusetts website and the contact form, and we'll be happy to connect you with Jeb directly. You can also take the time on the website to submit a request for your Ride Local decal, so you can add that to your website as well. All right. Jeb, anything final before we close out?
I think that's it. As always, thanks for having me, giving me the opportunity to talk about this. I think people really do need to take advantage of it. Get 6 free hours here. Reach out. We'll do what we can for you. Don't lose 6 free hours. That's ridiculous. Take advantage of it.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks, Jeb. We will talk to you soon. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.